We are Fandom Roulette.
Two nerds with a passion for
History,
video games,
tabletop games,
and, well, really any nerdy stuff that comes into our lives.
While we might not be able to name every ship classification in Star Wars,
Or every Pokemon.
or every spell in the player's handbook,
Well, one of us can.
we're still here to have a good time. Hey everyone, welcome to Fandom Roulette. This is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And on Fandom Roulette, this is a podcast where we talk about a myriad of nerdy things, including such things as history, video games, tabletop role-playing games, and whatever nerdy things we feel like we want to talk about from time to time. So Cody.
Yeah.
I'm looking down the road here in the pitch black middle of the night.
Ooh, scary.
And I see a party of adventurers walking towards me.
Yeah.
Why, it's you and a party of adventurers.
Yas, Queen.
Do you want to give us the setup so you can give us the answer?
Yeah, so last week, or the last time the tabletop role-playing game section came out, you and a group of adventurers must defeat a cult that has infiltrated your guild. The clue was, it's a movie.
It's a movie, and you said there's a lot of options.
There are a lot of options. As I was making this, I was a little concerned, but then while we were recording, I'm like, oh, yep, that's got so many different answers, my guess would be. So if you get an answer that fits, I will reward you 1 Cody point. But if you get the one that I was thinking of, you get we'll up the ante. You'll get 3 Cody points.
Oh boy. Can I have the prompt one more time, Cody?
Yes. You and a group of adventurers must defeat a cult that has infiltrated your guild.
Infiltrated your guild. Whew. This is a doozy of one.
I know.
I'm feeling, and this might not be right, but I'm feeling Hellboy.
Oh. I haven't seen Hellboy.
Okay.
So I have no idea.
I don't think the cult necessarily has infiltrated the guild, but it's definitely a cult fighting a guild.
Okay.
Can I ask a couple of clarifying?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Wait a second. This might give me 3 Cody points. Is it Captain America, the Winter Soldier?
You got it, my dude.
Yeah.
Yes, I was thinking of Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Yep. Okay. When I said it kind of slowly, for some reason that worked. I don't know why saying it slowly worked as well as it did. But yeah, I think Hydra really is kind of a cult that has infiltrated a guild.
Yeah, I was trying to use like fantasy terminology to like
fantasy-ish terms. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I knew if I would have said something about Hydra, like that would have given it away immediately. And then I also wanted to make sure that the actual point of the movie got across.
Yeah.
Because like ultimately a lot of shit went down, but it was Captain America trying to defeat Hydra that infiltrated the United. It might have been infiltrated. Well, no, because they got into S.H.I.E.L.D. Like that was the
they
whole.
Definitely infiltrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of like this weird metaphor for like I'm not suggesting that it's the same thing, but like in U.S. history, after the Civil War, or I'm sorry, after World War II, like America did bring over quite a lot of former Nazi rocket scientists to work for us.
Gotcha.
Not suggesting it's the same thing by any stretch of the imagination, but it is based in some history where it was like, all right, well, come on over and work for us now, because we're scared of the Soviets. So, hey, I have one here.
Yeah, hit me.
Okay. You and a party of adventurers need to save your true love from marrying the wrong man. This is a movie.
One more time for me.
You and a party of adventurers need to save your true love from marrying the wrong man.
Okay. This kind of feels like Yeah, there could be
This is
multiple
another
answers, and the one
broad
I'm
one.
thinking of that I'll reveal the next time we record, probably wrong, but it's the one that I feel in my hardest of hearts is the answer that it should be.
So that's the guess in your hardest of hearts.
Yeah, I'm not going to change my answer, but
Okay.
I'll think on it in case there might be.
Interesting.
But like in my heart of hearts, this is what the answer should be.
I'm trying to think of a quote that won't give away the whole goat.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Ghost. Yeah.
All right. So tune in next time in the tabletop role-playing game section for what the answer for you in a group of adventurers is. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I like this section. It's probably
fun.
The most fun I have while like thinking about the new episodes.
Can I tell you? I pulled that answer. I pulled Cap right out the old bum.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, it's so many options, and I was like, for whatever reason, that time you said it, it clicked with me. So, yeah.
It must be my psychic powers.
I don't know.
It could be. Maybe we're Vulcan mind melding.
Well, you have to touch my face in like a particular way. So.
No one has to know we're not touching.
That's doubtful. Hey, Cody, what? Hey, tell me how. Teach me how to DM. 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 All right.
If we get 50 likes for this video.
Now that the podcast is canceled, I'm going to bed. All right.
No,
yes,
so
please start.
Yeah, so this section has been how to be a GM, and in my opinion, the first 3 episodes are what you need to start, and everything I do now is just advance things to kind of get ahead of the curve and be like, hey, I really like this GMing stuff, being a game master rules. How can I be better at it? And one of the things I learned, an advanced technique, if you will, is the concept of failing forward. Now you're probably wondering, what the fuck does that mean? Basically, long story short, it is a process that I use that at the end, so it's a collaborative storytelling game. You with your players at the table, you're all trying to, you present problems, they present solutions. You tell them whether they succeed, whether they fail, or what consequences of their actions happen afterwards. And in my personal opinion, this was something that took me a little bit to get used to, or to basically learn. Because in my head, the first mindset I had was like, oh, well, if they don't find the solution to the problem, then they have to figure it out. And I used to make encounters like this, where it's like there was one solution with like 0 hints, and this is kind of a staple concept, and this is probably why I thought like this, because this is pretty typical for a video game, right? Like in a lot of video games, there is only one solution, and because you're in a situation where like you're by yourself and you can like stop and go whenever you want, and like in most cases, if you're in a situation like that, you can think on that and like try to figure out the solution for a while. But the thing about a tabletop role-playing game is that sure, you might have the time to sit there and try to figure out the puzzle, but at the end of the day, that is everybody's time you are using. And it can be really frustrating for players if they've exhausted all their options and can't figure out the puzzle, and the game just kind of grinds to a halt. This kind of also falls into like, you're the driver of this game. Like, sure, your players are helping, but you keep the game going forward, and creating scenarios or encounters that only have one solution and they have to figure that out to move forward halts the game. And I'll be honest, unless that one solution is super painfully obvious, there is a high chance that your party will not guess that solution. That's just the way of things. Like, the way they see the world and the way you see your world as being the kind of omniscient God, it's vastly different. Like, the way I see my world when we do our campaign is probably super different than the way Bamish or your character sees the world. So, failing forward, this is my solution. And this idea is that failure shouldn't stop forward progress for the characters. Or the players, rather. No, characters. Why did I write it like that? I'm awful at this.
No. I'm following.
And there's this idea in RPGs that, like, if the players fail something, they should be punished for it. Like, there should be this consequence. And there are other ways to punish players that don't impede progress of, like, moving forward. Like, you can lose precious in-game time because time is always moving. And if things are on a tight deadline, that can be pretty damning. You can lose resources. You manage to, the only way you could break through this fallen down area is you used a lot of, like, your weapons and stuff, and not all your weapons or your crowbars busted.
Yeah.
So there are other ways. And the example I have is you've put a door in the dungeon that leads to the final boss encounter, and it's a puzzle door, right? It needs a certain answer to unlock forward. You've put clues in front of them, but unfortunately they've exhausted their options. It's starting to look like they have no clue how to proceed. And this is something that I find a pretty fairly common among forums as, like, a huge no-no, or, like, puzzle doors or things that have puzzle mechanics to them. And, after reading the room and realizing that your players have now hit the wall, like, right? Like, we've hit the brakes. Everyone has stopped. This solution is like, okay, make a check that relates to the answer. Like, oh, Bamish, make an Arcana check for me. You roll it. And this roll, instead of just being like, oh, you don't know the answer, like, you guys have to wait and sit here and twiddle your thumbs until one of us breaks, tell them that if they can't figure out the puzzle, that roll will determine how much time in game they spent figuring out the puzzle. So, like, Bamish, the die roll doesn't mean pass or fail, it's how much time has passed. So if you made the Arcana check and you rolled a 1, like, shit, it took you hours to be like,
sure.
But in real life, just saying it took you a couple hours to figure out the puzzle is way more ominous, but also, like, enjoyable for the characters to just be like, all right, well, we tried the puzzle, it was fun, we now have the answer, but we don't have to sit here for 2 more hours, right? Like, that can be very exhausting or boring, and why are you playing a game if it's boring, right?
Yeah. Or I could solve the puzzle in, like, 5 minutes.
Sure. But not only do you not sit around for another hour before someone figures it out, but you've punished them in a way that makes sense. And, maybe at first they don't realize what has happened, but if it took them an hour, you've given the boss more time to better prepare themselves for the party. Maybe they called in reinforcements. Maybe they added a couple of traps at the front door. Doing stuff to augment the way the boss encounter goes is a better way of punishing the players rather than punishing them in real life for not being able to figure out your weird puzzle that's got to do with, like, elven feet or whatever. And that's not to say you need to do this for every single encounter, but the idea of, like, when the party has a kind of exhausted options and, like, you start to feel that, like, that forward momentum, like, running out, giving them something instead of just being like, well, what do you guys do, is way more appealing, and just punish them in other ways. Again, you can use this in pretty much every scenario, whether it's, like, a conversation, exploring, maybe it's even combat. Like, failing should be punished. Like, that's kind of like a through line of RPGs. Like, if you fail the thing, you get a punishment for it. But not in terms of hanging out with your friends and playing a game. Like, if they fail to persuade the king, the one and only person who can help them with this quest, instead of just saying no and there's no help for the party, maybe he agrees, but on the condition that maybe you are never allowed to step foot in this kingdom again. Or some other option, like I guess, failing forward, the idea that failure shouldn't stop progression and instead punish people in other ways so that you're not boring your players. Because at the end of the day, this is a game. It's supposed to be fun. It's, it's like playing Mario Party or, a board game or something. Like, if you're all just sitting there for an hour arguing about the rules, like, that's not, in my opinion, that's not fun.
Sure.
But playing the game is fun. So
yeah,
always thinking about, like, okay, well, if they failed the thing, how does that affect them in a way that, like, they can still do stuff?
Yeah.
Because some of the ways we deal with encounter design in video games don't translate well to the tabletop role-playing game experience, and just thinking in your head the idea of failing forward, I think, will help most early game masters out in the long run.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is my advanced technique.
I like it.
Do you have any questions, or perhaps I need to clarify things?
No, I think that it's clear. I'm gonna pay attention to this the next time we play, simply because, like, it felt like there were times where I kind of maybe subconsciously noticed it.
Okay.
Where it's a 1 doesn't necessarily mean it was like an out and out failure, because I know that sometimes people treat 1s as if, like, well, your fucking lockpick broke in half and now you're screwed.
Right.
But, like, this idea of the fact that, I think maybe I'm over conflating or something, but I feel like you do a good job of establishing a ticking clock.
Yeah.
That seems to have an impact where it's like the things behind the door are not static. They're not trapped in amber until it's not like they're waiting around, like, sipping their coffee, like, what did you do over the weekend? Like, Zargothrax? And it's like, I was just, oh shit, there's the door. And, like, battle positions, everyone. As if, like, they're, like, a team of, like, improv actors, like, waiting for what they were hired to do.
Right.
So just, like, the idea that it's like, oh, the longer you take, like, what could have been 2 guards has become a small battalion, or perhaps the thing that you were looking for is now further out of your reach because you took a little too long to figure something out. I think that, as you're saying, it's a good way to, quote unquote, punish is such a negative word. It's a good way to add a consequence without violating our time and your time, quite frankly.
Yeah.
We need to save that. We need to save that time to waste your time with lots of dick jokes. So
right. I mean, yeah. Punish is that sounds real dirty or like mean spirited, but no, I think it's the idea of, like, there are consequences to failure in just about everything, and if we didn't have consequences or mechanics, like, we would just be sitting around telling stories.
Sure.
So that's what I mean by consequences. It's kind of one of the through lines, but yeah.
Other than that, I think you did a nice job of explaining it.
Yeah, and yes, for those of you who are playing, or those of you who are just starting GMing, this is the mindset that put me into where I am now. And it gives me, one, I think it makes the world, I think some of the desired effects of this technique is, one, your world feels more alive when the players start to figure out or realize that, like, oh shit, we spent a month not doing this side quest and now we're here, but now the side quest is gone, or it's way harder. Like they just said it was just like a couple of orcs. Now it's like a whole army of orcs for some reason. Like, I think narratively it creates another like layer of like, oh shit, this world's alive. That's really cool. And it can help get people immersed, but also mechanically it's like, I want to tell a story. Like I want you guys to experience the things that I have in front of you. And if I mechanically stall you by putting something in there that's like unsolvable, like I'm just wasting, frankly, I'm wasting my time along with everyone else's time just so that I can be like, haha, I'm smarter than you because I looked up a puzzle online. Like,
yeah.
So definitely start thinking about the concept of failing forward. It doesn't have to be for everything. There are other ways to do this kind of forward momentum style play where failing doesn't always just mean like they still get the thing. Like you can, like for instance, a dungeon, if there are multiple doors and this one doesn't work because of their solution, they can try other doors, but know that if it's like a one, like if you're on like a railroad or if you're in a very particular spot where there's only one answer, failing forward is a great technique to alleviate some of the common complaints that I've seen on like forums and Reddit and all sorts of like online areas which people discuss tabletop RPGs.
Sure. But yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap her up, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Thank you guys so much for listening to. If you like this episode and you want to learn a little bit more about who we are, what we do, see more, hear more, learn more, do more, there's lots of ways to do that. Cody, could you please hit us with some of those ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one way to kind of get into the heart of all this is to go to our website at www.fandomroulette.com, where right at the top you've got all of our seasons of content right at your fingertips. You scroll down a little further, there's a bio of us if you'd like to get to know us a little better. And further down the list, you've got an area where if you'd like to send, questions, comments, concerns, you can do that by just typing out a internet handle and whatever you want, and it comes straight to us. Underneath that is all of our social media links. If you're ever like, oh damn, what's their Twitter? I saw something funny on there, but I can't show my friend, so like you can click there. If you want our social media links, you can find us on Twitter at fandomr_podcast. That is our Twitter handle. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Fandom Roulette. And if you're looking to share us with your friends and, like me, all your friends are on different stuff because, technology is crazy like that nowadays. We're on iTunes, we're on SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and basically any of your podcast catcher apps on your mobile device.
Yeah. Also, please rate, review, subscribe, ring the bell, tell a friend, move us up those ranks. All those wonderful things that happen.
Yeah, we are largely doing this and moving up because of you and the fans who share us with friends, who like us, subscribe to us. All that is we thank you for listening to our content and help continue grow our channel and do more, be more super nerds. We'll be super nerds one day.
Fair enough. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Fandom Roulette. Signing off for Fandom Roulette, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.